Good morning. It's Amy from St. Thomas Epiphany Episcopal Parish. This is the love letter to you from God. Did I see you rolling your eyes? This is a love letter to you from God. There are so many ways that you have been thrust into a life that you have not chosen in this time of coronavirus. I wonder if you're experiencing that. Maybe you're a parent and you've been a parent for a while, and all of a sudden you've been thrust out of a canon into the role of teacher. And some days, between parenting and teaching and working and caregiving, you just feel like it's all gonna break you. Maybe you're a caregiver, and maybe you've been a caregiver for a while, and maybe you've been super grateful for the home health aides who've provided respite care, or your friends and family who've provided respite care so that you could have some time to recharge, to go back to caregiving. And now you've been thrust out of a canon into the situation where you are caregiving 24/7. And between that and the errands and the isolation and the fear, some days it feels like it's going to break you. And maybe you live alone. And maybe the contentment of living alone was always broken up by your own choice to gather with others, or go out to movies, or have dinner at your neighbor's house, or come to church. And now all of a sudden those choices are gone, and you've been shot out of a canon, thrust into a life of aloneness. And maybe between that and the fear and the coronavirus and the isolation, some days it feels like it's just gonna break you. And maybe home has never been safe. And maybe you haven't told anyone that. And maybe you've been coping because you can get out and go to school or go to work or spend some time away from home. And now you're at home. And home is really unsafe. And some days it feels like it's gonna break you. This is a love letter to you, to all of you, in those situations and whatever situation that you find yourself. Worship, what the church does when the church gathers, is also a love letter. It's a love letter to God. And the way that we worship, the way that we have always been called to worship, is by loving one another. And so today, we worship God by writing a letter, an encouraging letter to a neighbor who's isolated, by picking up the phone and calling a friend and saying, "How are you? Do you need anything?" That's an act of worship. It's an act of worship because it's an act of love. This is a love letter to you from God. I hope that today you will worship God by reaching out to someone else, by asking, "How are you? How are you doing? How can I help you?" And each time you do that, 24/7, from wherever you are, in whatever means that you have at hand, you are worshiping God, the God who loves us all. Amen.